Here we are again on the original roll reveal show with Copper Coins. Chuck Daughtrey here to go through a 1969S roll. 1969S, folks. This is an original 1969S roll. It does not have a bank name on it, but it has never been opened. 1969S, of course, is that year of the famous double die that seems to be so difficult to find. Virtually nobody finds these things. Well, I'm not sure whether we will or not, but I tell you what, I do get nervous every time I start to get into one of these rolls because, well, what happens if I do find them? If I find one, there's probably going to be 3 or 4 of them in here at least. I just hope the winners of these remember me. Well, Randy, bin 2 is kind of important because I do have 2 open spots in this roll. Believe it or not, I do have 2 open spots in the roll. Do you want those 2 spots, Randy? Because you said bin 2. Yeah, if this turns out to be a roll that has the big double die in it, we're going to have a party. That's for sure. Hello, Melissa. Well, in case you don't really know much about rolls or about the coins, I'll go through a little. Okay, I'll send you an invoice on these, Randy. They're $3.50 a coin. But in case you don't know much about this, Melissa, this is an original roll, and this original roll right here is crimped down on both ends, and it's wrapped in a reddish colored paper, and it has a 50 pennies. It's got a brand name on it right there, and it's Brant, Watertown, New York, USA is what it says. And this kind of roll right here shows me, and the type of wrapping it has on it and the crimps on the ends shows me that no one has seen any of the coins on the inside of this roll. They were minted, bagged at the U.S. Mint, sent out to a bank or sent out to some other facility that proceeded to wrap them in these wrappers without looking at the coins. And there happens to be a very nice and very famous double die for this particular issue, 1969S. And if we happen to find that double die in this roll, they bring somewhere north of $100,000 per coin. Now, our chances of finding one are probably less than getting struck twice by lightning on the same sunny day, but it always makes me nervous going into these rolls. Now, these rolls you're not going to find in the bank. These rolls are quite difficult to actually come by. Let's go ahead and pry this little baby open. And this is how the original rolls are done. They've got a crimped end. They're not glued, they're not tooled or anything like that. They're just crimped. And as soon as I can find, there we go. I found a weak spot that I can actually peel it open now. And so I peel it open with my little tool here. This little tool has a little rake. Where am I going? Here we go. Has a little rake on the end of it. It allows me to pull things out. Some people use screwdrivers. I think that's very dangerous because you're putting metal up against the coins. I like these better. Bin 4 on the DDO for you and Randy, please. Okay. You know, if this was a roll dig, we might actually be talking about, maybe I should be doing roll digs for the 69Ss, but I like you guys, and I want you guys to have as much good collectible stuff as I get. So here it is. Wrapper over the coins, of course. Good luck, folks. I hope we find you some big double dies in here. Joe, I think I already gave you that extra spot in these. I think. I hope. because I added that information in on the invoices yesterday, and I prepared the cards today. So my sheet should have been accurate. If it wasn't, we'll work on how to rectify that. But here we go. Coin number 1. Salute, Mr. Coin Dragon. Tout le monde. And here we go. Coin number 1 in the roll, Yo Man. It is an RPM. It appears that it's an RPM, maybe an RPM. Well, I have to back up on that. I'm not sure this is an RPM. That could be a hit on the lower part of the mint mark. It appears to be nothing more than a hit at this point. So we'll keep looking to see what we find here. And I have nothing else on coin number 1. Does have a little bit of coloration. And we'll look at the reverse now. The reverse is very important on 69S because there is the possibility that we could find a counter clash that shows the E pluribus unum clashed in right in this area, going in this direction. It's really strange. You'll see like the E and the PLU and stuff like that here. Very valuable. Found one of those one time about a year ago. So they are not unfindable. Coin's actually in really nice condition, but has nothing on it. So we are going to move on to coin number 2. Coin number 2 is going to go to Malcolm. This one is colored down too. So we may end up having a red-brown roll here. Don't see anything on this particular coin. That is machine doubling right there. Machine doubling is when the die is loose and it bounces on the coin during the minting of the coin. One of the things that I can show you to be able to determine machine doubling is see that this area right in here, all of this is basically normal width. If you look here, you have something that is much smaller in width. These are actually thinner in width than they should be because this is actually part of the width of the original letter. So part of the letter was flattened down by the second hit of the die. If you look at the L in Liberty, you'll see that it's of normal thickness. No extra hit occurred that pulled this one out of shape. But you can see how the hole in the B here kind of has a double effect on it. That's because the die hit the coin twice. Slightly out of alignment from one to the next. And that's what causes that. My dog just came in from outside. You can smell that on a dog when they come in from outside. He just came in from outside, came into my office and laid down next to me and has promptly fallen asleep within, 15 seconds. I have no idea how a dog can start snoring no more than the time it takes for the carpet to stop rustling from them walking in, that they're already laying down asleep. Something's just not fair about that. We'll also look at the initials area. The no initials is known for the D mint, but we may as well look on the S mint just to see. Perhaps no initials might pop up. The no initials coins don't really have a whole lot of extra value. There are a lot of people who like to collect them, and there are a lot of people who will pay extra money for them, but there's just not a whole lot of established value for them because we really don't know how many there are. Okay, you see the doubling in the date right there? You see how it corresponds to doubling that's in the mint mark? That will not happen on a double die. The reason it will not happen on a double die is because the mint mark was put in after the die was created. It was put in by hand after the die was created. So by the time we have the die created, no doubling, then we add the mint mark, no doubling, and then we mint the coin with a loose die, creates doubling. That's machine doubling. The mint mark is added completely separate from the design of the die onto the die. That was that way up until 1990. I'm sorry these coins are not full red. I had no idea when I opened this roll. I mean, they do have some pretty color on them, but they're not full red. I had kind of expected a full red roll. Try saying that 3 times real fast. Full red roll, full red roll. That one's kind of hard. Full red roll, rubber baby buggy bumpers. Rubber baby buggy bumpers. Did I check the reverse on that one? I think I did. Let me check it with my loop real quick just to be sure, because I don't want to skip over. I did check the reverse on that one. I remember the pattern of the color. Well, that was for Thomas. Now we're going to Mac McBride. Where are we? Here we are. No double die, but we do have an RPM. This is RPM number 3. Nice. RPM number 3. Beautiful RPM, actually. We get a little closer to it. I'm going to turn it up so you can see it better. That's the thing about true optics. When you get closer and closer to your subject, the optics causes the lighting to get dimmer and dimmer. But okay, so here we go. You can see that there's a little elongation in the lower serif here. There's a split right here. There's a split right inside here. All of this is a split. And then there's a split in the upper serif right there. This is a repunch mint mark. It's RPM number 3, and I can tell you it's RPM number 3 with ease because of these lines right here in the date. Those lines in the date are specific to RPM number 3 only. They were scratched onto the die. So this RPM is known specifically by those marks. Congratulations to Joe McBride for picking this one up. This is a very nice one. Even in this condition, the coin's worth $5 to $10. Let me turn my gain back down so we can actually see what we're doing. Everything about this scope is manual, so I have to do absolutely everything by hand. It is not a full red coin, but it is still a nice RPM. And knowing that we have found one of these in the roll, in the first 5 coins, we are likely to find more. There will likely be more of them in here. So that's an RPM number 3 for Joe McBride. Good afternoon, Coins and Ghouls. Mac is Joe, yes. He changed his name from Joe McBride to Mac McBride because there were too many Joes with Joe Lawson and Joe Cathy and other Joes. There were too many Joes, so he just wanted to change his name and make himself stand out a little more from the crowd for when his name was mentioned or whatever. This is not good. I do not like the condition of these coins. But I do like that we're finding RPM number 3, so it's a trade-off. I take time to especially study that one area up in the top of the design on the reverse for the counterclash of that E pluribus unum. Mac Daddy McBride. This one's for Thomas. This one is also machine doubling. Machine doubling because you have doubling that corresponds with the doubling in the date and the mint mark together. They would never be doubled together on the die. Now we can see what we mean by machine doubling in the fact that This right here is taken from the original shape of the letter. And you can see here that it gets really, really thin. But if you follow this outside line here and the outside line up here, there's no extra thin area. This right here almost comes to a point, whereas the actual 9 does not, because this borderline here was loose and struck again up here. That's machine doubling. Double die, that design would be completely doubled, as in 2 sets of letters. There's more machine doubling, corresponding likely to the machine doubling that's in the date. Let's take a look at the reverse and see if we come up with one of those counterclashes. Nope. No counterclash. You're going to see a lot of extra marks in this area, and they're raised marks coming up from the field. And then we can make them out to be the letters of E pluribus unum once we see it. It's not going to be obvious, which is another good thing, because you can find them in tubed rolls of coins, because a lot of people skip over them not knowing what they are. And here is Eric. Eric also gets RPM number 3. This one's been mashed out just a little bit, but it is an RPM number 3, I do believe. Wait a minute. No. These are different die scratches in the date. It's not the same die scratches that you find on RPM number 3. So this is not an RPM after all. I was looking at the scratches in the date before I even looked at the mint mark. The mint mark's not doubled. In order to have an RPM, you have to have a doubled mint mark. Okay, nothing there. I'd have to be able to show an example of one of those coins to you for you to understand what they are. I wish I had gotten mine out so I could show it to you. I'm not even completely sure where it is right now. Not the time to be digging for it. It is, isn't it, Coin Dragon? 1969S, they must have been having a problem with the presses. Because, ooh, what is that? That is kind of weird. That's in the die. That is die damage. Very odd. Very strange. Very different. But that 1969 San Francisco, they must have been having problems with the press, because 1968, 1969 especially, in San Francisco, they were having a lot of issues with machine doubling, loose dies. Well, that was for Ted Evans. Unfortunately, popped out a normal coin there too. And the fact that this roll is a red-brownish roll, that it's actually kind of disturbing. I was hoping we'd find really good stuff in there. There's another heavily machine doubled coin. You can see the machine doubling extends above the 9, the 6, 9 of the date and the mint mark. So this one is not an RPM or a double die. You can see more of the doubling caused by machine doubling on the ST of Trust. Probably going to be quite heavy on the Liberty as well. And it is. That's all machine doubling. No added value at all. Nothing any pluribus unum for us. Number 10, Stonecutter. Stonecutter with the next coin in the roll turns out to be not an RPM. It does have just a little tiny bit of machine doubling on the mint mark. And you can get machine doubling on the mint mark without getting it in other areas of the coin. Machine doubling can be very specific to one small area. And on this one, we have nothing on the reverse either. and a red-brown coin, which I am not happy about. On to number 11. Malcolm. Also not an RPM. Also machine doubling. See how the nose is doubled? That's all. You can just consider it like a cut in. You know, like you're trying to punch a cookie out of a cookie sheet and you didn't punch it all the way, and you need to punch it all the way. So you put the press back down onto the cookie dough and you punch it out all the way. And say that your cookie cutter had a design in it, you know, like a snowflake with little dots and stuff. You're going to have a hard time setting that cookie press directly back on the exact same spot on that unfinished cookie to punch the finished cookie. In fact, I'm almost going to guarantee that you're going to have some effect of machine doubling on your finished cookie, because you're not going to set that cookie press right back down on the exact same spot, and it's going to show an effect of doubling. That doubling is going to look like machine doubling. At this point, we are 12 coins through. We have found 1 RPM. I don't know that there is really any shot at finding. This is another RPM right here. This one is not number 3. It doesn't appear to be number 3. This is another RPM. I think this is number 1. This is a nice one. Really nice RPM. Let me turn the gain back up on this so we can see it up close. Yeah, that's a real pretty RPM right there. Hello, live coin Q&A. It would be epic if I found the big one. I tell you what, that would make my day for other people. I could then be totally and truly seen as a coin martyr. This is a nice RPM. I think it's number 1. I believe it is. So we are producing decent 1969 SRPMs, which are very scarce. Very difficult to come by. $10 to $15 in this condition. $20 in really nice shape. I think this is probably RPM number 1. Oop. And that's for Jim Fletcher. So I'll move it off to the side in its own little pile. And we're going to move on to coin number 14 for Bill Cressing. Coin number 14 is this one right here. What do we have? Well, it is not an RPM. It is not a double die. A little bit of machine doubling on the top of the LIB of Liberty and on the top of In God. You see right here, I mean, I can't really move in close enough to really show you, but this looks like if you took a little spatula and scooped up on the corners, on the edges of the letters, and you scooped upward, you would get these little extra flanges of metal that you can see rather clearly on this one. Right here, right here, right here, and right here is all the metal that belongs in that area of doubling next to it. It got scooped out of place. This is called eject doubling. This happens during the time that the coin is ejected off the die. Eject doubling is a form of machine doubling. It has no extra value, no premium value. Let's see if we... That's about... There's a little tiny bit of it on the D But it's kind of centered on the word in, and there's a little bit of it on Liberty. You can see it there on the bottom of the L. And this entire scooped area right here is from the B, and this is also all scooped. It's kind of hard to see, but it is. And so that's what eject doubling looks like. It has no value. It is another form of machine doubling. Just wanted you to be able to see that so you can determine that difference next time you find the coins for yourself. Alright, let me focus back in. We'll flip this one over and take a look at the other side to see if we happen to have a counterclash on this one. And that would be a big NO. That would be a NAUSA. Let me step away for just a minute. I really want to show that coin to you. Let me see if it's in the first place I can think where it might be. No, unfortunately, it will have to remain a mystery for now, because I do not know where it is. I find stuff all the time in my office because I lose stuff every day. All right. We have an RPM 3. We have an RPM 1. We have a Bill Crusson coin here. I have flipped over and don't know whether I've looked at it on the reverse, and now I know I have, and it doesn't have anything on it, so Bill Crusson's coin is going to turn out to be normal. We're going to move on to coin number 15, Jeff Dunn. I got to get moving. Another 69S, not an RPM, not a double die obverse. Nothing of interest on the reverse either. I would love to locate that coin. I'd give almost anything right now to remember exactly where I put it. Part of the pitfall of my life, being very disorganized, I also tend to not be able to find stuff right away. Adam Chambers, next coin in the roll. This one looks a little more red than most of them have. What do we have here? Oh, a little case of machine doubling. Only shows on the 9 and the S. I tell you, it can manifest itself in many different ways. There it is on the RTY. Don't watch from the car unless you're going to sit in one place. Don't watch while you're driving. You can listen while you're driving. Don't watch. There's not going to be anything come up in this roll that'll be worth your life or anyone else's. Public service announcement. You're not the only one who misplaces coin finds. Mine's actually ANAC certified. It's an AU coin. I just don't know exactly where it is. Coin Hunter. Maybe at some point I'll actually make a video about it. And I'll show you guys exactly what it looks like in that video. This one is not, well, it might be an RPM. I don't know. It's hard to tell right there. Let me see. Looks like there's some chance this one is an RPM. I'm gonna have to look at this one again to make that determination. It is not RPM 3, it is not RPM 1. If it is an RPM, it's a different one. I don't think it is, though. It doesn't look like, it doesn't quite have the body that an RPM is going to have. It just doesn't quite look right to me. Lots of machine doubling. That's actually pretty cool. Some of them actually look kind of neat. Another channel to learn from? You're learning from another channel, or you're not learning from the other channel, Melissa? Is this the channel that you are learning from, or are you learning from more than one now? A video on the different types of machine doubling. No, I don't have a video on the different types of machine doubling. I probably should put together 15 or 20 machine doubled coins and run like a nice little video on the whole thing just to show you what they look like. Now see, look at this S. This S was filled with grime during the time this coin was struck, and there was no place for the metal to go. So you basically see a ghost shadow of an S instead of the real S. And that can happen in a very small area, about as small as it takes for a chunk of grime to show up. Well, that chunk of grime took up the letter. What do we have here? Not an RPM. Not a repunchment mark. Not really a double die or anything to that effect, so we're going to have to just move on. It's a dropped S somewhere down the line, perhaps. Depends on how clotted up that stuff got. If it got clotted up with enough pressure, it would drop out of the die and strike into other coins as if it were a piece of metal. But if it really didn't get clotted up all that much in there, it would fall out and just fall away. This one's for Eric. Looks like this one's almost a full brown coin. It has some, I guess, remnant of color on it. A little bit of color on this one. It looks pretty nice. Hey, Patrick. I know you show up more often than you say you do. And you're in here just lurking. Just watching. There's another one. Machine doubling again. You can see it on the S. You can see it on the upper ridges of the date. There it is on the ST of trust. Now you see how this one doesn't have all those little pufflets of extra metal stuck up on them? This is because this doubling occurred on the downstrike, not on the upstrike. Okay, so it occurred while the die was going down, not while it was being ejected. So this is regular, what we would call flat field strike doubling. Now there's also a difference between that and the other forms of machine doubling. Flat field strike doubling is generally rather clean in appearance. Doesn't look like it was dragged into place. It looks like it kind of came on naturally, if you will. In other words, it doesn't look like it was dragged out like the eject doubling. The other form of machine doubling that I don't have a different name for is just machine doubling. It's the one that happens, the die doesn't lift all the way. The coin sort of moves while the die is in chamber. And the coin is in chamber with the die. And it just drags the lettering around. But it doesn't lift any because it's not that motion that creates that doubling. So you have that form of machine doubling as well. Well, Melissa, I hope your other channel that's teaching you is teaching you good information. There are so many channels out there that just have what really amounts to just plain beginners who just want their spot on a camera, and they don't really care if they're giving you good information. They don't care if they're giving you viable information. All they care about is being on camera and or making money from it. Whereas I believe what I do is a true educational service. This one's for Lucy. Gosh, I can't believe the condition of these coins and how these things got in here. This is, I mean, this is an original roll, people. I mean, this goes all the way back to the very beginning of the 1969 S Lincoln cent. And how they turned out in this condition can only be by the method of storage, which is probably in moisture and heat. There are good channels. There are plenty of good channels out there, but there are so many of them that are horrible. They almost outweigh the good ones in number. Nothing there, but we do have a brighter, more red coin. No counterclash there either. I tell you what, though, here's what I am going to do. I'm going to get Brian's book out, and I'm going to show you in Brian's book where that is. Brian is my friend Brian Allen. And so Dr. Brian Allen and Ken Potter have been putting together editions of this book, which is Strike It Rich with Pocket Change. And they've been doing this for, this is their 5th edition now. And they placed this 1969S in there quite some time ago to show you what it looks like. Here's the double die we're looking for. Very obvious that it's a double die. And this right here is the counterclash that we're talking about. Ah, jeez, come on. All right, there we go. There it is, the counterclash that we're talking about. It's a bunch of little raised areas that if you make it out, it actually is part of E pluribus unum. You can see the U right here. N right there. So there's an N, a U, and then part of the M. But you can make out E pluribus unum. You can see the uncirculated value there, $125 to $200. Yeah, Dwaggy want. I'm sure Dwaggy wants. Dwaggy wants along with all the rest of us. Spit in one hand and want in the other hand, see which one fills up first. Oh, another nice example of machine doubling. I knew that we were going to find this when we got into a 69S roll. There's a lot of machine doubling in 69S. It's very common. Don't be fooled that it's worth anything extra. It is not. There is a Facebook group Is it a group or a page? I think it's a group, maybe a page. For Strike It Rich, if you just look up Strike It Rich, you'll see this cover art. And I would recommend joining that group. The author of that group does check it out frequently. And he is the author of that book. Well, again, we have no RPM. We have some machine doubling. We'll look at the reverse, see if we come out with anything special. Nothing special here. So unfortunately, we just run by the middle coin in the roll. It's 3 o'clock. This is about the time that I had planned on ending, so I'm going to have to pick up the speed just a little bit. Here's Thomas. Thomas. And a lot of machine doubling there. That's about it. Nothing going on there. Number 27 now. This is one of Randy's coins. Yeah, well, guys, Chuck wants to. Okay. So, that's how that works. Chuck wants. Chuck doesn't get what Chuck wants. So, there we go. It's another non-RPM coin. It turns out to be a rather funky condition original roll, but it is an original roll. We've found 2 different RPMs in here so far. Well, and that's really kind of it. 2 different RPMs and end of story. 28 now. Coin number 28 goes to Go Wi-Fi. And Go Wi-Fi gets... And it's just going to be another 1969S Lincoln cent here. Nothing to see here. Let's move along. Number 29. Mac McBride. Mr. Joe, what do we get for you? Kind of interesting little die gouge on the mint mark there. Just to the right of the mint mark, you can see it light up there. Nice little die gouge, but not really anything else. So we move along. And I don't see anything else on the obverse. Let's move over to the reverse and see what we see there. Nice color on this coin. I like the colors on quite a few of these, but unfortunately the colors are showing that there's been moisture in this roll at one point in time. Yo man picks up coin number 30, and coin number 30 is a die we haven't seen yet. In fact, I don't recognize this die as being one I've ever seen. Nice thick and heavy die scratches running through the date there, but that's really kind of all there is to this, unless there happens to be marks on the reverse that I'm looking for, and no, there are not. That's it for that side. Eric, what book did I see your name on? Eric? Did you author something I'm unfamiliar with? There's another one of the same die. Another example of the same die. Nothing else really. Eric's not involved specifically with the Strike It Rich with Pocket Change book. Here's another one for Randy. That one goes to Randy, and here we see what Randy's going to get. Appears that could be an RPM, folks. Looks like maybe an RPM. I see, yeah. I think I see there's weakness in the corner of the letter, which shows part of a split, but I can also see what looks like separation right there in the center of the mint mark area here, and what looks like could be separation down here as well. So we're looking at what may be an RPM for Randy. Remember how I said maybe, Randy? Don't take anything I do on this show for complete gospel, because we do research and we do recheck everything I check during these shows, after the shows, to be sure we're not missing anything, and also to be sure that what I'm claiming during the show is actually what it really is. Sometimes I get a little confused the first time I see a coin. I am human. And maybe perhaps a die isn't quite what I thought it was. And we do get that all straightened out upon review. Yep, that's probably it. Probably thinking about Mike Byers. Byers doesn't have the first E wouldn't be in his name. It's Byers. He is an error dealer. For quite some time, he came out with online news paper about error coins. It was called Mint Error News. He also deals a lot in errors on experimental coins, and he has some pretty high value error coins. I don't know if he still does it, but he did 10, 15 years ago. I don't know about now. There's a lot of color on these coins, actually. I mean, some of them look kind of fun. Not making an excuse for the poor quality of the roll, but it's not quite as bad as you might think. It's not nearly as bad as it could be. Could be all black carbon spots. You know, could be a lot worse than this. Let's look at coin number 35 now. Mike Birchman. That's why I keep trying to call Mike B. I keep trying to call him Mike Byers, because I know of a Mike Byers. That's the Mike Byers I know of, coin dealer. All right, we've got machine doubling on here, and that's just about it. Let's take a look at the reverse here. If I can find it. I'm trying to look at my finger. My finger doesn't have any doubling. I'm pretty sure. I'm also trying to read the chat. Read what's going on in the chat. Yeah, Melissa, if you want to put yourself in the fray and have an opportunity at being able to bid on coins during an auction, all you have to do is send us an email with your name, your screen name, and your PayPal email address to coppercoinspayments@gmail.com. That's coppercoinspayments@gmail.com. we'll get you registered, and you'll be ready and registered for the auction that occurs tonight. Jessica Johnson will be our host from Iowa. I am in North Carolina. We live an hour off of each other. I'm an hour later than her. So her auction occurs at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central, on Thursday evenings. My auctions occur at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on Tuesday evenings. That's where you can purchase spots in these reveal shows. That is a struck through right there. Notice how there is no metal standing up around the edge of that pit. That is definitely a struck through error. And notice here, right here, you have a light area that's showing that your light's coming from the top. So this is actually caved in on the coin. But you can see right below that there is a line of dark, which shows you that's displaced metal. And if I did that same thing with the same lighting direction in this area, there is no displaced metal out here on the outside edge of the area that's lit. We talking about this coin? A perfect little S. I'm not seeing it, Pat. Then let's see. Got nothing else on this one. Let's take a look at the reverse and see if it happens to be that one elusive die that we keep looking for, and it is not. Yeah, if it was, the coin would be over $100 in value. So they're not easy to find, and the value is kind of indicative of its scarcity. It is a quite scarce variety to find. That would be an error, actually. It's a die error. It's a counterclash from a broken out piece of a die that got mashed back into a reverse die. Not there either. And this coin for Marshall. Let's go on to coin number 39. Coin number 39 for Jim Fletcher. Got nothing on this side. Nothing over here either. Now coin number 40. Mike Birchman. We're basically really just looking for two different RPMs at this point, hoping that we find more examples of at least one of these two different RPMs. RPMs for 1969S are rather scarce. They don't come along very often, and they're difficult to find. Nothing there. Now number 41. Coin number 41, Bill Cresson. Well, let's see. Wild Bill gets a normal 1969 S Lincoln cent there, unfortunately. This one doesn't really have any machine doubling either, so this one really is normal. And we don't have that special area that I intensely intend on looking at on every 1969S. It's a regular habit now. Flip every 69S over and take a look at the reverse, because there are so many people who will go through rolls of 69S, of course, looking for the big double die. They don't even think to look at the reverse of the coin at all. And there's a really nice counterclash error on the reverse of some of them. Obviously not the ones that I've been looking through, but on some of them there is. Alright, got nothing on that one either. That is number 42. Now for number 43, Malcolm. Well, isn't that special? Not an RPM, not a double die, but really nice looking machine doubling in this area. Hello, Marked Money Tech. I appreciate you dropping in. Most definitely. All right, let's see. Number 44 goes to Adam Connor. Boy, we've got some rather gnarly looking coins. Some of them just don't look very nice at all, and other ones are just awesome. I tell you what, I can't do it for nothing, but I will get a second rollout for you guys at $1 a coin. We can do a different roll for $1 a coin on another day. That'll be just for the people who have put effort into this roll. Coin 32. Okay. Let me go back and look at it, because you went back and found it. That's Randy's coin. What are we talking about, Pat? I'm not seeing another S down there, brother. This is coin number 32. It's just interesting. I'm going to wait for you to reply because I don't know. I don't see what you're talking about on this one. He said something. Let's see. What did he say here? That's almost a perfect little S down there, the bottom serif. Aha. I think I see what he's talking about. Depending on the lighting angle, maybe. Maybe. Depending on the lighting angle. We'll see if he says anything else. Coin number 32 at the bottom of the mint mark. Okay, that's where we are. We're on coin number 32 at the bottom of the mint mark. Now you'll have to lead me on to what I'm looking at, because I don't think I see it. Unless you're talking about this right here, looking like a perfect little S. That is a hump in the center of the mint mark created by dent in the mint mark punch. From how it was created, that's the floor of the mint mark punch. If that's what we're talking about. But this is coin number 32. I'm going to continue looking to see. I was thinking maybe he saw the little S in the stains. But see, if I turn it this way, it doesn't look like an S at all anymore. It just looks like a hump inside the S. I don't see anything else that looks like an S on there, though. No, I'm not showing anything. So whatever it is, Pat, it's not significant, I guess I could say, but I'm still not really sure what you were seeing. Moving on to coin number 45 now. 45, Mac McBride. See if we can find him another RPM. No, not an RPM. Not an RPM, not a double die. Need to back out before I make everybody drunk and seasick. There we go. Do have an interesting little die gouge right there, but that's not a counterclash. It's in the right area, but it doesn't do the right thing. It's just a dent in the die. So this one's for Mac. Moving on to coin number 46 now. 46 for Marshall. Yeah, that 49D pull is going to be tomorrow. This one could be one of the RPMs, but man, that S is soft. It's very softly struck, but it looks like it's one of the RPMs. Unfortunately, it isn't really going to have much value because people who buy RPMs want to see the RPM, and so they don't want damage on the mint mark or lack of strike in this particular case. But by markers alone, we can tell whether or not it is the RPM once we get it into study and start looking at it in post-production processing. And that sounds like a big official term, post-production processing. In our post-production processing, we check every coin in the roll to ensure that we knew what we were doing while we were going through the roll. No, that's not how you say it. During post-production processing, we go through the roll again to ensure we haven't missed anything. Yeah, that works. And nothing on the reverse, unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean, you might be waiting on that 49D, but I'm actually a little more excited about the 70S. 70S has the opportunity of turning up more valuable coins. Here's Carl, number 48. 3 coins left in the roll. This is number 1 of 3. And we have a decent example of machine doubling, and that's about all. Got machine doubling there. Shows up in Liberty as well. And to look at the reverse, we do not have a counterclash right here. There are no known double die reverses for 1969 Lincoln cents, either the plain, the Denver, or the San Francisco, or the San Francisco proof. There are no known double die reverses, and that's because the design is so, well, let's say, the opposite of sharply edged. It would be dull edged. There's just not a whole lot standing out on the design that would show you a good spot for doubling. All the corners are sort of rounded, and the relief is kind of rounded off. If they had stuck with that design for a few more years, they probably could have avoided some double die reverses that they ended up doing. But you could see how beveled off and how rounded off all of the design elements on the reverse are compared to some of the other dates that you may know. They are very, very rounded off. Rounded off, beveled down, whatever you want to call it. It is not conducive to showing hub doubling. Now number 50. For Carl, last coin in the roll for Mr. Ignatz. And we have another one of those with the little messed up thing next to the S. This isn't what you were talking about, Pat, is it? No, because you said it was coin 32. Coin 32 wasn't one of these. I don't know. Well, we got all 50 of these done. We are finished with broadcasting for the day. I need to go out and run my errands, part of which have to do with these reveals, because I finally found a printer, a professional print shop, that will take my sheets of reveal flips and cut them for me. And you cannot even imagine what a time suck it is for me to sit here and cut all of these little squares from sheets. I found somebody to do it for me. And it's going to cost me a little bit of money, but it is well worth the savings in time. That's for sure. All right, here we are. We've got the roll done. We have 2 coins that are die varieties. Number 4 is a RPM number 3. And number 13, I believe, is RPM number 1. Number 4 is this coin right here, and it goes to Joe McBride. And number 13, is this coin. It passed the camera altogether. Number 13 is this coin right here going to Jim Fletcher. So that's what we've got for varieties in this particular show, which is actually more than I think we've done for varieties in any 69S show so far. We found nothing in most of those rolls. But with this roll, we actually did find something good. And I will be back tomorrow for our last 2 rolls of the week. Last 2 rolls of the week are going to be 1970S and 1949D. And those 2 rolls will come up tomorrow. And I don't know what time I scheduled them for, but it is in the channel. You look in the channel and you look in future videos or scheduled videos, you will find them. I appreciate it, folks. Thanks a lot. You guys have a great afternoon, and I will see you tomorrow.